mean, does it, if you have your mic on, it's not a big deal if you don't. But what's it like when I start the meeting? Is there a note that pops up for you?
Yes.
Okay. Because like when I go to the page, I don't even see anything at 9 o'clock. I don't know if I need to like change the settings, but I have to like scroll up and find the previous, like where it happened previously in the posts and join. So it just seems kind of, I don't know, like if I was y'all, I wouldn't know how to find this. All right. I am recording now. I don't have a ton today, but we'll do a few more spot translations for chapter 13, which continues to be review for 2.5 kids. But I promise we will be back up to like near about 18 or so in January. And we do have a vocab quiz today. But I want to sum up what I was confusingly explaining yesterday. I think I was being really confusing yesterday. Chapter 13 has like three parts to it. Part one is what we talked about Monday. Those are reflexive pronouns. That is when pronouns that we already have from chapter 11 agree in person and number with the subject. So they're translated differently. So may, instead of being me, which is its personal use, would be myself. Whereas first and second person reflexive pronouns get their own new pronoun this chapter, sui, sibi, say, which is like of itself or himself or herself, to himself, herself, itself. Say are the same for accusative and ablative. Will also be itself, himself, themself, whatever it needs to be to reflect the subject. Because yeah, those ones at the bottom there, those third person pronouns, those are only used for personal reasons, whereas sui say are the third person reflexive counterparts. Part two are reflexive possessive adjectives. That's when adjectives that we've already had, like meus, tuus, noster stuff, they again agree with the subject in person and number, so they have this reflexive quality. So instead of something being my or your, it's my own or your own. And suum is used for third person reflexive possessive adjectives. And then part three today is intensive adjectives, or pronouns rather. I think the easiest part of the chapter. Their declension is pretty normal. The genitive has the IUS that is showing up for a lot of these pronouns in the genitive, and the dative gets a long I. But other than that, these are very much first and second declension in terms of their endings. And all they do is emphasize a noun, usually a noun that they are next to. Sometimes they're by themselves, which we'll practice today, but usually they're right next to a noun, like in this case, Cicero ipse me laudavit. Cicero himself praised me. So ipse is the nominative singular masculine of this pronoun, this intensive pronoun. But in the second example, it's agreeing with me instead of Cicero by just simply being accusative singular. So that would be Cicero praised me, myself. All right, let's do a few spot translations. This is the vocabulary along with chapter 12 that you will be quizzed on Friday, by the way. Then after Thanksgiving, we can move on to like chapter 14 and 15 maybe before Christmas break and have a midterm on maybe like 9 through 15. And I'm telling you guys, 2.5 kids, we will be back up in the 20s by at least the end of January. All right, ipsi per se, eam in ausia nuper vicerunt. This is a weird one where ipsi is showing up without a like-minded buddy. I mean, it doesn't have a noun next to it in the same case number and gender. So this is maybe a less common example. There's a more common example down below. Cicero ipse libros amat would be Cicero himself loves the book. So here, though, they're like, it's not like that example where ipse is right next to Cicero, the subject, and it's like going with it. So it's just kind of floating out here all by itself. It could be dative singular, but I bet it's nominative plural because of its like placement in the sentence. And so I'm assuming it's modifying like a masculine nominative plural subject that has been dropped. So I would just translate it as they themselves. We don't gender plural pronouns in English, so we would just use they, whether it's ipsi or ipsi or whatever. Okay, so they themselves is how we're going to take ipsi. It's like, this is a really weird one because it's intensifying a word that has like basically been dropped. Anyway, they themselves, by themselves, per is this newer preposition that means through with an accusative, but by with an ablative. So say here is probably ablative. whereas am is the direct object, means him. And then winkerunt here is the perfect third person plural of winko, winkero, wiki, which is lost below. So it's like they themselves, by themselves, conquered him, the direct object am, the personal pronoun, in Asia recently. New pair is this preposition, adverb recently. All right. He ciceronem ipsum secum iuxerunt nam eam semper. So if these verbs are new to you, that's because they're chapter 13 verbs, and they're down below. Iungo is to join, diligo is to love, basically, and they're both perfect tense. They're both, well, the first one perfect, third plural. The second one is pluperfect. So he, all by itself. Does anybody have a mic on to tell me how we would translate he? Not.
Of this.
And so it's from what means this, hikikok. But is it singular or plural? Like, where would that be? I don't have the chart up, so it's a little hard to tell. But that long I, actually just think of second declension, but not genitive. So it'd be plural. It's nominative plural. So it's these men. And the ciceronem's in an accusative, and it looks like he has an intensifier. So it's like something about Cicero himself. Secum, these men. Oh, by the way, yeah, cum can show up like this, where it's just like a suffix. So be wary of that. That's kind of weird. So it's like these men joined Cicero, the direct object, Cicero himself with them. So secum we would just translate as with them. Say is going to be reflexive of whatever your subject is, whatever your third person subject is. And so in this case, it's just going to be them. With themselves, it is ablative. So yeah, again, any ablative pronoun can get cum joined as a suffix. For they always loved him, or they had always loved him, because delixerant there is pluperfect, whereas a iuxerunt was perfect. All right, very good. Pro patria, Caesari ipsi multum dederamus sed nobis nihil dedimus. This one is, both of these verbs are from dodare. They're very weird third principal parts, but once you're used to that, you look at these and you know immediately that they're one of the perfect tenses. This time, the first one is pluperfect. The second one is perfect. So it's like on account of the country. And Caesari ipsi, those look to be dative. Ipsi could be nominative plural, but next to Caesari, third declension, that is the third declension long I dative. And dederamus is first plural. So it's on account of the country. We had given, and then multum can be our direct object, are much to Caesar himself. Caesar is just being intensified there. It's almost like you don't even need to know what case the ipsum is going to be. You just have to see what it's next to. Usually, it's only more complicated than that when it doesn't have a buddy, like in our first example. But we gave nothing to ourselves. And this is weird because nobis as a personal pronoun is us. It's us, either ablative or dative. Here it is dative. But if we said we gave nothing to us, that would sound weird, right? A we doesn't give a direct object to us. It gives a direct object to ourselves. So that's us translating it reflexively. All right, this is probably the last one. Regina ipsa is going to be what? Anyone? Maybe? No.
The queen herself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's just the queen herself once was. Caput is a word, I guess we get this chapter. I'm going to look at the vocab for this chapter again. She was the leader of the country in Asia. So yeah, caput there is just nominative. It's technically a predicate nominative. Ego te diligo amica mea sed diligisne te ipsam. So I'll just kind of click this one. This one's not too complicated. Ipsam there at the bottom, intensifying te. So the only thing that's interesting here is that we're seeing a pronoun get intensified. So yeah, other places we saw this new intensive pronoun intensifying nouns it was next to, or intensifying dropped subjects that we had to kind of add ourselves. Here it's intensifying the pronoun te, which we would already translate as yourself, weirdly, because it would have to be reflexive, because that verb at the bottom, diligisne, that's second person. So we would already translate it as like you love yourself, but because there's a reflexive pronoun and intensive, we'll say you yourself. Um, yeah, it's a little weird. All right, that is it, guys. Let's look at your vocab real quick. Also, I would appreciate if anybody wants to vocalize how y'all are feeling about, like, if our 2.5 kids like checked out because they feel like this is review that's unnecessary, and or maybe more importantly, our 1.5 kids overwhelmed and not able to keep up. If either, just let me know. It's not a big deal. I just because I can rethink this over Thanksgiving break if this is not working. But the idea is that like we're all kind of synced up around chapter 20 by February. And yes, I'm clearly second guessing it, and I've like asked you guys about it a lot. But I'm doing it because you guys seem to not like the computers. But the irony now is that we might be e-learning for a little while. I'm not sure, so maybe I shouldn't like I should just put the 1.5 kids in the 1.5 team and like go back to chapter 23. I don't know. I'll have to decide. But if you guys want to have like give input, that would be nice. So okay, debitai, that's riches. That's a word that you guys never learned. Factum is deed, signum is sign. Then there's our intensive pronoun, ipsa ipsa ipsum. Quisque doesn't show up too much, but it means each one. Sui is this reflexive possessive third person pronoun that'll translate to himself, herself, itself, or themself, depending. Doctus means taught. Fortunatus means fortunate. Sua sua suum. Don't get it mixed up with our reflexive pronoun, which I might have just referred to as reflexive possessive pronoun. This is a reflexive possessive adjective that'll translate to his own, her own, its own, etc. Nam is for, anti is before, per is through, olim is once, allo is to sustain, diligo is to love. So I'll be picking 15 of these plus some of these on the quiz on Friday. These are some really easy nouns on this one. So I'll probably go for some of the adverbs here, and this preposition will probably show up, and some of these verbs. So I wouldn't worry too much about these nouns because they look so easy, but some of these and any of these. These are chapter 13 words. Okay, guys, I hope y'all are actually watching this, people who aren't making it to the stream. I will see y'all later. Let me know, guys, for real, feedback-wise, how you're doing. Hopefully 2.5 just kind of enjoying the review. But anyway, goodbye for now. Like, it should be kind of easy is what I mean. But if 1.5 kids are really confused, I can tutor. All right, bye.